Hello my friends, my name is Lindsay. I run the blog Books for Christian Girls, and welcome back to the little corner of the internet where I talk mainly about Christian fiction. Today it's actually all Christian fiction though, because I am talking about my all-time favorite Christian fiction books. This has actually been highly requested over the last few months especially to share with y'all my all-time favorite books, just period. And that is an impossibly hard question. I think every reader will tell you. So I'm going to make it just ever so slightly easier on myself, and I am doing Christian fiction today, and then I will do a part 2 of my all-time favorite books for clean fiction, probably in like a month or so, maybe a little over a month, we'll find out. Tentatively, I have it scheduled towards the end of July, so look forward to that, but I reserve the right to move it around as I see fit. So this video though is going to be my all-time favorite Christian fiction books, and I'm really excited. I had so much fun trying to figure out which ones are my top favorites. I have a shelf on Goodreads that definitely helped, but I had to go through and kind of think and stare at my bookshelf for about 8 hours and think about what are the ones that when I finish, I hug to my chest, I spin in a circle, I feel like I'm in a field of flowers. Like, that is the vibe that is a favorite book for me. So we have a bunch of those today. I have them organized in different genres. I also though included in this list honorable mentions because I'm Lindsay and I like honorable mentions. An honorable mention for this video isn't like, it's not like I gave it like a 4-star. They're probably closer to the 4.5, 5 rating, which I am very, very stingy with, I guess would be the proper word. I don't give out 5 stars often, though this list is going to make you think I do. I don't, trust me. This is a list that took 14 years. Which is crazy to think about. I've read these books, yeah, that's about right. That is insane to think about. But as I was saying, anyway, I do have in this list honorable mentions that are going to be more along the lines of ones that were my favorite like 10 years ago, and I haven't reread them in recent years, and I think they would still stand the test of these are my favorite books. But I feel like I ought to reread them to be able to like firmly say, yes, these are my favorite books. So they're on this list as honorable mentions for that category, for that genre, really. So we're going to see how that goes. I do want to reread a bunch of these, but most of these are just favorites. They just really, truly are, and I'm so excited to talk about them today. In the description, I will have links to all of these books as content reviews. However, the ones that are honorable mentions, not only do I need to reread them just to see how I still feel about them, what's my standing on them, but I also need to reread them to be able to give updated reviews that are more detailed, because in the last, let's see, I've been doing BFCG for 12.5 years. I think it was around 3 years in, I really kind of switched the system to be a lot more detailed in the content reviews. So there's some of these I need to redo, and they're not as detailed, but they should still give you a general idea of the content. So with that, let's get started with middle grade books. My first one for this category is going to be a series, and it's kind of like I really liked some of them. Some of the other ones weren't my personal favorite, but as a general whole, I do really think fondly of the series, and that would be the Camp Club Girls series by various authors. This is a Christian fiction middle grade series that follows a group of 6 girls, and they all meet at a Christian summer camp. They share a cabin, and they are finding some mysterious things are happening at the summer camp in the first book. And not only do they solve those, find a cute puppy, and become best friends for like ever, the whole series just starts off from there, and all of the girls get to like meet up and solve mysteries throughout the series. It is a really, just honestly, very fun and delightful series. As a note though, I do know this series can be kind of confusing when you look it up online, so like just to give you like a little rundown, it was first published as individual books by the publisher, so like it would be, oh, I have them way up at the top of my shelf, but like Camp Club Girls and The Mystery of Discovery Lake, and then Sydney's DC Discovery, so like very individual for each of the girls. And then they did a kind of collection volume, if you will, that had a few of the books, so it's like books 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, and then like the next few, and that kind of thing. And then more recently, the publishers switched it and did where each girl gets their own volume. But the really neat thing about that is back at the very beginning of the series, there was an additional 6 books for the final few books of the series that never went to print until each girl got her own story. So personally, my favorites were Elizabeth, Bailey, and Kate's. They were my favorite 3 out of the 6, but the rest of the books were fine too. But like just as a note, The individual ones can be hard to find. The girls' versions, their own, so like Elizabeth Bailey, Kate, Mackenzie, Alexis, Sydney, they all have their individual ones, and that has the extra book that you cannot find in any other version. So hopefully I didn't just confuse you more. If I confused you more, let me know in the comments and I can explain it probably a lot better writing rather than talking. A new favorite Christian fiction middle grade that I just read this month actually, and I haven't gotten to discuss it in a video yet, so this is very exciting. It gets to make its debut on a very big video for my channel, and that is Keep 'em Flying by Nell Branum. This was so fun. This is about Riley, and she is a 6th grade girl who has recently written a report on her family's involvement in World War II on the home front. And so she enters into a history contest. What is it? No, the Historical Society is having a contest with a cash prize and an all-expense paid trip. And that trip is to a really neat historical World War II society event in Kansas City. And so when she gets there though, history meets a mystery with a museum artifact goes missing. So there you go. It was just so fun. It honestly felt so patriotic, and I just loved that so much. Made me want to get up and sing the Star Spangled Banner when I got done reading it. It was just a great reminder of the sacrifices of those during World War II and those that were still back home and working on the home front. And it had a lot about like Rosie the Riveter and like, you know, all the Rosies, because like Rosie the Riveter wasn't just one person. It was many women that stepped up to the plate when they needed. And I just loved seeing that history element of it, because hi, I'm a nerd, but I also appreciate and love my country. And there are different notes and there's even little illustrations throughout the book, and it was just so cute. It was just really just great. Like it had like little research notes throughout, and it's Riley's riveting research notes, and I thought that was cute. I love a good, what is that called, alliteration? I think that's what that's called. I like those regardless, but it was very sweet, very good. I cannot wait to read book 2. But yeah, this is a new favorite, I have to say. I was very, very impressed by this one. As an honorable mention, meaning I greatly, greatly enjoyed this series a long time ago, I need to reread it. I think I would still like it, but it's been a long time, would be the Good News series by Jill Osborne. This follows, wait, was her name Riley too? I think her name is Riley too. Oh, how funny. Yes, her name was Riley Mae too. I was just thinking, am I hallucinating? No, her name was Riley as well. And she is very athletic, and she ends up being kind of like the ambassador spokesmodel kind of person for this shoe company, this tennis shoe company. And as she is their ambassador, spokesperson, whatever, she gets to go on different mission trips with them throughout the world. And I just remember absolutely adoring this series. I think I would still really like it. I'm hopeful to read it sometime during the rest of this year. Hopefully. Moving on into the YA category, but specifically the subgenre of YA fantasy dystopian. I actually really only have 2 books for this. I've read a lot of fantasy books, but there just has to be something about them that makes it a favorite for me. And so you can probably guess the ones I'm going to mention, but the Anomaly trilogy by Krista McGee. This is a Christian dystopian trilogy that, oh, so good. So good. I think nowadays some people might think it's maybe a little predictable or the classic dystopian plotline, but the time it was written, it was very revolutionary, and I greatly, greatly still enjoy this trilogy. It just gets me on the edge of my seat where I can't read fast enough, and it made me interested in dystopian books and even like just fantasy books in general. I actually had to wait for the 3rd book when it released, and that was torture. That was complete torture. But because I really enjoyed this book so much, I found out about the Jupiter Winds duology, I guess you could say, by C.J. Darlington. There is a sequel and then a prequel novella. And I was really hoping I would have this series reread before I filmed this video, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. But I am still looking forward to rereading this one very soon because it is really just... it's so good. Fun fact about this one is the main girl's name is Gray, spelt with an E, and I've tormented my mom for years that she's going to have a granddaughter named Gray one day because of this book. But basically it's set in 2160, however we're supposed to say that. I guess that's the easiest way to say that. And a teenager, Gray, becomes bait to capture her missing revolutionary parents she thinks are long dead. And obviously there is like a little bit of sci-fi elements, I guess guess you could say, because of Jupiter and all that. I'm very curious. I think this one's going to stand up for me, but it's been so long since I've read it. But I remember just like, oh, when the second book released in this series, I made such a squealing noise. It was ridiculous. I was so excited. So I'm looking forward to rereading these, but I think they're still going to be favorites. For YA Contemporary, I have a lot in this subgenre because this is the genre that got me into Christian fiction. And it's just such a special, special genre. So of course we're going to start with Krista McGee's trilogy because, hi, I love this series. If you looked up a picture of me in a book recommendations dictionary-like book, hi, yes, my picture will be with these books. And so we have First Date, Starring Me, and Right Where I Belong. They are all very, very loosely inspired by biblical events, and I love that, but I also just love how faith-filled this series is and the main characters. So in First Date, it's kind of like Esther meets The Bachelorette, but it's more friendship than romance. Like, it turns into romance, of course, because it's adorable, but it is such a fun, and just it's fun, it's precious, there is strong, good faith content, it's just amazing. And then we have Starring Me, which this actually follows a girl we met in book 1 that was on that dating competition show, so that's why I suggest reading these in publication date order. Elsewise, you're going to be spoiled on the endings of the prior books. But Starring Me is so much fun because it's like an appropriate teen Saturday Night Live show, and you actually, rather than just being told like, oh, the audience laughed, the actual scripts are written out, and I just think that is just so much fun. There's so many of these, like I've read all 3 of these books probably at least 3 times each, I'd say, but this never fails to make me laugh, and I just think it's so fun. And then the third book, Right Where I Belong, I would almost argue has even more faith content and less romance, but it's still just so sweet and wholesome. And our main girl has moved to Florida to be with the best stepmother she's had from Spain, and she meets different people, and it's just, oh, it's so good. I love this series. This is a series that anytime I talk about it, I just want to forget what I'm doing and reread them because they're so special to me. Another one that is considered a classic in the Christian YA market would be the Christy Miller series. Now, full disclaimer, I have only read the Christy Miller main series, the college years, and the Serena Jensen spin-off series. I have not read the married years, I have not read the baby years, I have not read all the little single spin-offs, I haven't read the Katie series, so I'm behind. Very behind. But I'm just going to say just this first Christy Miller series, like the main Christy Miller series, made such an impact on me as a young teen girl, but then I've reread them throughout the years, and I'm still working on rereading them again so I can properly review them. But you follow Christy, and she's 14 years old, and she feels like a 14-year-old when you're older, I'm not gonna lie. So if you are above Christy's age, you might find her a little insane at times in certain friend groups and things. But the character development, the faith growth in this series is just unmatched for me. Especially in the third book in this volume bind-up, because this is 3 books in one. But that is yours forever. And a conversation that happens in that third book with Christy, our main character, and then the love interest Todd, has stuck with me all these years. Like, I'm talking like, okay, 10 plus years. Maybe that's not that impressive, but that has shaped how I view certain situations. And just the faith content, I walk away from that third book going, that is the book that makes this series. They are so iconic, so classic. I need to continue on with the series because I have not finished the series, but for the main original series, they are favorites for me. They really, truly are. The Trade One series by Taylor Bennett is also another favorite YA Christian Contemporary series for me, because I loved how the author wrote the faith content in this. It's like, okay, it's 4 books and a novella, but you have to read the novella in between, so it's kind of like it's 5 books, but it's a novella, so it's not a full-length book. It's always so confusing for me to put, I'm sorry, but That's a really good series. The character development, the faith development. I love seeing the friend group. It is just such a precious, precious series. Another one that I would consider to be a favorite would be Hey Jude Carpenter by Storm Stoltz. This is just so fun because it's got such a summer feel to this book, and basically our main two are 14, 15, and they have feuding families, but they didn't know they were feuding families until they introduced each other to the families, and they were just friends, but it grows to more. But then there's problems that arise from that, and I just really loved the friendship and how it turned to more. And then the epilogue of this book, absolutely adorable. So switching from romance threads, all of those prior ones for the YA contemporary category had romance threads. This one does not, and that is Because of You by Hannah Curry. This follows our 16-year-old main character Chloe, who is going on her first mission trip to Thailand, and she is just so excited but nervous, and just like so excited really and nervous to see what the Lord has for her and the lessons she will learn on this trip. And it reminded me so much of my student trip to China in so many different ways, and I could list the ways but I won't. I kind of did in my review, but I just adored this book so much. Like, I marked parts I really liked, but I also marked parts that reminded me of my own student trip, and it was just so precious. It was just like heartwarming and heart-touching, and I just really loved this book. Two honorable mentions for this category. One of them would be a standalone book, and that is Dandelion Dust by Faith L. Potts. I remember absolutely adoring this book, sobbing, but absolutely adoring this book. And I don't really remember anything about it, but I feel like it needs to be mentioned because nobody talks about this book, and I know it is worthy to be talked about. I just need to reread it so I can talk about it more. I'm waiting for when I'm in the mood for a good cry, because I feel like that will probably be the best time. But then I also have Roadside Assistance, the whole trilogy by Amy Clipston. I have talked about this series for years. I have raved about this series for years, and I think it will still stand up, but it's been so long since I've read this trilogy. I feel like I ought to reread it, so it's an honorable mention, but it's a really good series, particularly the first book. For Christian YA historical favorite books, this is such a small genre. I feel like the majority of them are medieval fiction, which these two both admittedly are, but I would love to see more historical Christian YA books being published because I think there is such a market for that. But two books that are my favorite for this genre, one of them would be The Lady of Lenaria by Michaela Bush. Hi, yes, it's me talking about the series yet again. The whole series is really good. It's actually going to be ending in November, and like, I'm sad, but I'm so ready to like see it all come to its big final conclusion. But this first book particularly is my favorite because it is such a good retelling of Rapunzel. None of the other ones are fairy tale retellings, but this one is. And it has my absolute favorite moments of Tangled, but with so many unique elements as well, plus Christian faith content. It is such a good book. Like, this was such an easy book to give 5 stars. Like, I finished it, I'm like, 5 stars. Easy. Solid, good, done, brilliant. And I just love it when a book does that because that doesn't happen that often to me. My next one is, it's not an honorable mention because I do love it, but it's mainly because of the emotions it pulled out of me. And that would be The Lost Rose by Victoria Lynn. Number one, it's a chunk. It's like 500 pages, 600. I look at this every time. How many? 600 pages. And the emotions this book caused me. This is technically book 3 in a 5-book series. Book 1, really good. Book 2, really good, made me cry. But this third book, I was an emotional basket case for this book, so that's honestly why it's on this list, because of the emotions it pulled out of me. I need certain things to happen, though, for book 4 and 5 for this series, because if not, I'm going to be a puddle of emotions and tears and snot, let's be honest. So I need certain things to happen, and I can't tell you what I need to happen. What needs to happen? Like, spoilers everywhere. So yes, I cannot tell you why this book has such like a knife to the heart moment because it's spoilers. But it's really good. It's really good. You should read it too if you want your heart to be like destroyed. But you have to read them in order to really get the destroyed heart mentality. kind of feel my pain, okay? Join me in pain. For YA mystery suspense, I really only have one book, but I wanted to put it in its own category because it is that good. And that would be Sketchy Behavior by Erin Mangum. Hello! It's a classic on my channel. Love this book. Love this author. So good. Basically, our main girl is Kate. And did we have another Kate in this list? Yes, we did. The Camp Club Girl books. She was a Kate, so we've had 2 Kates and 2 Rileys. I love it when that happens because I only ever realize that when I am filming this video. Like, I plan out these videos, I don't realize it. That does not snap, but as I tell y'all about the books, it snaps, and I think that's hilarious. But anyway, Kate is our main girl, and she's 16 years old, and she has a really good talent for art and drawing and doing like illustrations and profile sketching, apparently. Because one day in school, her art teacher assigns them to listen to this description of this man and draw it, and wouldn't you know? Problem there. It's actually a serial killer, and Kate's one is the most accurate, and they're able to catch the guy because of her illustration, or her sketch, I guess would be the proper word. And so, yeah, that causes problems. A lot of problems, but it's Erin Mangum, so that has a ton of humor, good faith content, and just so much fun. I want to reread this one too. I want to reread all her books, so there you go. So speaking of Erin Mangum, we're switching into the contemporary, just like contemporary adult setting, I guess you would say. And so basically all of her books, but if I had to be specific and pick, if you have to twist my arm, I will try. I will try. And so the Paige Adler series, that whole trilogy, top notch, love it. Also the Carrington Spring series, the trilogy, oh, so good. Need to reread that one as well. The Broken Branch, ripped my heart out, healed my heart. I love that book so much. Let's see, Mind the Gap, excellent. Leap Day in the Square, her newest one, so good. Her next one's probably going to be just as great, and I'm so excited. I obviously do really like the novella collections, which includes the Christmas novella collection, and then the Maya Davis and Lauren Holbrook series. I really like those as well. I want to reread those, though. It's been so long since I've read those, and I remember all the other books so fondly, so I need to reread those as well. Just giving y'all my rereading list. It happens. But basically, yes, Erin Mangum is a favorite author for a good reason. 2 books I have not mentioned in actually a really long time, so it's kind of fun to discuss it, would be 2 books by Judy Bayer. Now, I'm going to say this one, Noah's Ark, is kind of more of an honorable mention because I greatly enjoyed it, but it's been so long since I've read it, so I honestly can't tell you much about it besides the main girl is Nora, and she runs a pet store called Noah's Ark. The creativity, adorable, love that. And then the back cover has, not from like a normal blurb, it's from her dog's POV, and I think that's great. The rest of the book is like, you know, in the human's POV, but we get Bentley's point of view on the back cover, and I thought that was just so cute and charming as a dog lover. But I need to reread that book, so that's an honorable mention. What is not an honorable mention is $1 Million Dilemma. I know this book is not for everyone. I love this book though. If you are familiar with my final picture at the end of my videos, my, what is it called? End card is the technical YouTube name. I have the quote, "Books envelop the room, floor to ceiling like wallpaper," and I had that on my wall for years at our old house, and I have it on my Instagram bio. It is such a special quote. That is the goals of life, and here I am getting there just about, and I love it. That quote is from this book though. And basically our main girl accidentally wins the lottery. And she is a PK that has been taught, gambling, big no-no. And she's trying to figure out what to do with that money. And I thought it was very humorous. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I relate to the main girl in a lot of different ways. And then she meets the main guy who has such a heart for the mission field and is kind of closed off and almost a grump because of what he has seen overseas. Because I think he's a journalist. Globe-trotting neighbor. I'm pretty sure he was a journalist. And like, so he is like seen a lot of terrible things of humanity. And so there's just a lot of different parts to this book I just really enjoy. It is definitely a comfort read for me. Another book for the contemporary category, or genre really, would be Heirlooms by Sandra Bird. This is actually a dual time period novel, which is shocking because I don't do dual time period, split time period, whatever you want to call them. I'm not a fan of those. I usually avoid them. But I actually really enjoyed this book because it is set right after the Korean War in the States, and then it follows a couple generations later, the main ladies in the 1950s time period, their granddaughters, and how they are trying to start up like a flower farm. And so not only do I just love learning about Korean culture as someone who's been learning the Korean language, which is just a beautiful language, for multiple years now, we have that element that I love so much, but I also just love flowers and gardening. And so then we have the contemporary setting with that element, and it is just such a special read to my heart, and it's just so special. It kind of felt like it was written just for me. And I know it wasn't, but it felt like that because it had two of my passions and interests in this book. And it was great. The Story People by Heather Kaufman is another favorite of mine that I have been meaning to reread for years. I don't know what's stopping me because when I read this book, I read it, I think pretty soon, once after I joined booktube, and I would not stop talking about it for very good reasons. So I need to reread it, but basically it is about our main guy who inherits a bookstore from his uncle. And then here comes this children's book illustrator to the bookstore, and sparks fly, and there are elderly matchmakers, and I just love good matchmaking. I really truly do. It was so cute, very bookish. I need to reread it. Another one that I just absolutely adore would be Picture Perfect by Janice Thompson. Janice Thompson is one of my all-time favorite authors, but I particularly love this one because our main couple in it are competing photographers in Galveston, Texas. And as a Texas girl, I love it when books are set in Texas. But also as a photographer, I love that they are competing photographers. One of my favorite things that happens in this book is right at the very end, so I can't tell y'all about it. But I squee and squeal every time I read it. It's such a fun series, but this one particularly just has my heart as a photographer and reading about photographers. It's really cute. And my last one is kind of, I would call it a favorite. I have a few little caveats for it though, so let me explain that. That would be the Muir Harbor trilogy by Melissa Tagg. There is a little bit more romance than I personally prefer for this series, particularly in the first book. But I really loved the pro-life message that was in the second book. And in the third book, I just adored the couple so much. I thought they were just absolutely precious for each other. And I was squeeing and squealing all throughout it for multiple different reasons, because I related in a lot of different ways to the main girl in that third book. But I would still say the second book might be my favorite out of the three. I don't know. But like, just as a heads up, I would recommend it for like older teens, like 16, 17 plus for sure, because there is a little more romance content than I usually prefer. It is a favorite though, because I love how the books connect and the mystery element throughout the three books, and just the found family trope and all the other tropes throughout it. It was a really good series, I have to say. Just a little romance heavy for my personal taste. Moving on into historical fiction, I feel like I don't read a lot of historical fiction lately, but looking at this list, these just make me happy. Looking at this historical fiction list, so I need to get back into my historical fiction roots, really. But we're going to start it off with a bang, and that's going to be The Librarian of Boone's Hollow, plus the sequel Return to Boone's Hollow by Kim Vogel-Sawyer. When I first read The Librarian of Boone's Hollow, I had to sit down and make a good 20-25 minute video just fangirling about that book, so I'll link it up there. But I just adored this book so much. The faith content, the romance was so sweet and innocent and wholesome and God-centered, and I just love seeing that in Christian fiction. But it's just so precious. It's set during the Great Depression, and our main girl was adopted into a very wealthy household, but because of the Great Depression, things are changing, and so she has to go get a job, and so she ends up getting a job as a horseback librarian in the Kentucky hillside, the Appalachians. Is that how we say it? Am I right? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I'm close, but in that area, and it was just a beautiful setting to read about and learn about, but the faith content is just what makes this duology so good. and just the sweet, sweet romance. It was just absolutely precious. A newer favorite being added to this list is A Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventure by Angela Bell. This book is unlike most other books you will find in the Christian fiction market because it is historical fiction but has such a good amount of whimsy and whimsical, but then even a dash of steampunk to it. And I just think that combination makes for a winning combination. And basically we follow our main girl, Clara, and her ex-fiance is spreading bad rumors about her family, and she is trying to protect her family from those rumors. But they're not really making that easy on her because they are a very unique bunch. And it gets kind of even worse when her grandfather hires this apprentice guy off the street, basically, for his clock shop. And this guy's kind of strange and he's keeping a lot of secrets, and Clara's just stressed to the max. And it gets even worse when her grandfather goes off on like a little scavenger hunt and she has to follow him with the other guy and her mother. And her mother, you're either going to love her mother or you're not going to like her mother. I think there is just like one of two reactions to her mother. Personally, I love her mother. I thought her mother was quite fun. Perhaps because she reminded me of my own mother at times. But I just thought it was so much fun. You've got a lot of animals. You've got such strong faith content. And then the romance went from like, not necessarily enemies to more. I don't feel like that's right. It's almost like a rivals to more, to accepting the other, to friends, to more. And it was just so paced. Like the pacing of this book was so well done. Even though it's just like a normal length book, it was so good. I'm actually going to hopefully listen to the audiobook of it at some point this year. Hopefully, because I can't wait to revisit these characters. The Spice King by Elizabeth Camden is actually on this list because I'm a nerd and I love like botany and plants and history of like the food industry. And this is set right at like 1900, before the FDA got established and corrupted. And so our main guy is part of a big, spice company, hence the title. And so their competitor is not being ethical and they are trying to figure things out. And I just liked this book because I'm a nerd. Let's be honest. I liked the second book. Well, I did not care for the third book. So like just as a heads up, the third book has a very unnecessary animal death in my opinion. That ruined the third book for me. I don't talk about the third book. Moving on. Another one I really like is Like a Flower in Bloom by Suri Mitchell. This is also because I'm a nerd, part 2 basically. And this has a lot to do with botany and flowers, as you can probably guess from the title and the cover. But our main girl's name just went out of my brain, Charlotte. And she has been her botanist father's assistant for years. But her uncle is like, wait a second. She's growing up, she needs to be put into society, much to her dismay. And so she's basically booted out of being her dad's assistant. Here comes this other guy to be her father's assistant, who's not doing the best job in her opinion, because she could be doing it better, of course. And so she's having to go to society parties and balls, and she's getting like, lost in the garden, because that is way more of her speed of being around plants. And I just thought it was very sweet, very fun, just very springish, but I feel like you could read it any time of the year. Another historical fiction, I guess you could say author I kind of want to mention, would be Jen Turano. I have read all of her books. I did have a couple I didn't personally care for, and I talked about why in my reviews, but I have enjoyed a lot of books by her, particularly the Matchmakers trilogy that just finished last year. That was such a good trilogy. I specifically liked the second book in that one. That was so much fun. But then I recently reread After Fashion, and yes, that is definitely one of my favorites by her. A Change of Fortune, which was her debut book, it still makes me laugh. Like, I can just read the first chapter on a bad day and just crack up because of the antics and what happens to the main character in that first chapter. Bless her heart. I also, though, really liked Storing Up Trouble. So I'm eventually trying slowly to reread all of her back books, but those would probably be my favorites for the historical fiction category from her. The Debutante's Code by Erica Vitch is probably one of my all-time favorite Regency books, because not only do we have like the quintessential Regency things I love, like balls and matchmaking and busybody mothers that are matchmaking, love all three of those, but there is also spies and art crimes and thieves and mysteries, and I just think that's so fun. Books 2 and 3 in the series and the trilogy were good, but book 1 was by far the best in my opinion, and it just like sets the stage, and it's just so good, so intriguing, just so much fun. So much fun. I talk about that one a lot for really good reason, in my opinion. On the Regency note, I would also say the Regency Spies of London series by Melanie Dickerson. I actually would say I like this series more than her fairy tale retellings even, because, again, Regency, Spies, sign me up. But I particularly liked the second book of this trilogy the most. I've read them twice, I think. This whole series twice. And I feel like that's saying something, because I really haven't reread books a lot in my 14 years of reading Christian fiction. But that is a series I made sure I reread because I enjoyed it so much. Another historical fiction book I really enjoyed was The Cryptographer's Dilemma by Johnny Alexander. This is a standalone book. Unfortunately, I would love for this to be a series because the main couple were so good together. But basically, our main girl is Eloise, and she is an FBI cryptographer, which basically means she deals with codes and secret messages and all that. And like, isn't that so cool? That's the coolest thing. Like, the brilliance for that, I love. And so she ends up trying to decode the doll woman's letters, and that's an actual like historical thing. Like, it was a really cool bunny trail to get off onto after reading this book. I love it when a book, especially historical fiction, gives me bunny trails of research to do after I finish the book. I love it when that happens, and this book definitely did that. So she gets involved in trying to decode the doll woman, which sounds so innocent, but is not, because it's a war period. It is not innocent, set during World War II. And so she has to decode those letters, which leads her into going on a road trip around the country with the main guy, who is also an agent for the FBI, and sparks fly. But there was a lot of like just humor to this book as well, because instead of posing as like a married couple or whatever on the road trip, they pose as brother and sister, and I thought that was hilarious. So lots of different parts of this book I really enjoyed. I also have learned that I enjoy World War II books more so when they're set on the home front, and that was definitely what this book was. Another one that I have talked about a lot on my years of booktube would be Love in Disguise by Carol Cox. I have enjoyed the author's other two books that were published with Bethany House, Trouble in Store and To Tell the Truth, I think is the titles of them. I own them. I'd have to find them though. I need to reread those, but I remember enjoying this one the most out of the three, and it is one I have reread, I'd say 3 or 4 times actually. It is a historical fiction mystery, but it's a mystery where you see the villain's POV, so you're trying to hope and hurry along with the main characters for them to catch the bad guy, basically. I'm so sorry, I just had a coughing fit. I don't know where that just came from, but basically our main girl is Ellie, and she was the assistant kind of like wardrobe caretaker to this actress, but has just been let go. But the girl is like, oh, you can have all the old costumes and everything. So Ellie's like, okay, what am I gonna do with that? And she ends up overhearing a conversation that a Pinkerton agent needs a woman to go undercover. And so she tries to apply, and it doesn't go well. So she dresses up as an old woman and gets the job. It was fun. You know, I love when you have the hidden identity, mistaken identity, all of those tropes. And this book had it like ×3, which signed me up. Love that. And so she not only has to go to Arizona to figure out what's happening with this silver mine? Yeah, it was a silver mine and the shipments were being stolen. And so she has to go figure that out, not only as this older lady, but also playing that older lady's niece as well. Very fun. Very, like, such an interesting dynamic, really, so it was very enjoyable. And then some honorable mentions, because I have not finished my rereads of these, and so far I still really enjoy them, but I want to finish my rereads, so honorable mentions technically, but I originally gave them high ratings. One of those would be the Edwardian Brides trilogy by Carrie Taransky. I have recently-ish, earlier in the year, reread the first book, The Governess of Highland Hall, and it is still, I think, one of the best Christian fiction historical books. not only because of how clean it is, but how strong the faith content is just delightful. And so I need to reread the other 2 books in the trilogy, but definitely a favorite. And then also a few books by Janice Hannah Thompson that I have just enjoyed throughout the years that I want to reread. Because number one, I think they'd be so enjoyable to reread, and I think they'll still stand up, but also because they're just so much fun. So that would be Love Finds You in Poetry, Texas, Love Finds You in Groom, Texas, which are obviously both set in Texas and like the 1880s, early 1900s time period that I just love. Are you sensing a theme on this list? I'm sure you are. And then also Love Me Tender by Janice Hannah Thompson. And these are the original covers they were printed under, but she has them now reprinted on Amazon and like Kindle Unlimited under her actual name, Janice Thompson. And I think the titles have changed a little bit, so I will match those up for y'all on the screen. But Love Me Tender is set in the 1950s, and I haven't read a lot of books in the 1950s. I still haven't. Even after reading this book, I was like, oh, I need to find more, but I just haven't found many. But I did really, really like that one, and it just had like that very quintessential 1950s charm to it. I'm exhausted. Can I be dramatic real quick? Yeah, like I'm so tired. Like this is so fun and giving me life. I love it, but at the same time, I'm so tired. Moving on into the cozy mystery section, or just mystery section, I have a whole series, which would be the Gone to the Dogs mystery series, but I want to particularly mention books 1 and 5 of this series, and oh look, they're both by Janice Thompson. Who knew? Me, I knew. You probably knew too. And that would be Off the Chain and Every Dog Has His Day. So good, so good, so good. Like the whole series is really good and I enjoyed all of them, but book 1 and book 5, they were just top notch in my opinion, because I loved the very sweet, innocent romance in this book. And then in book 5, we get to see like the whole friend group throughout the series at a wedding for somebody, and it was just precious. Absolutely precious. So good. So good. I love that it has the Texas charm. As a dog lover, it's got lots of dogs. You've got the mystery, non-murder mystery, let me add, and they are just precious. So my last genre for this video is suspense, and I have a few to talk about. I read a lot of suspense books, especially over the years. I feel like I've kind of tapered off a little bit, but I've read a lot of them, but I don't have a lot of favorites. I feel like I'm extra not peculiar, well, maybe I am peculiar. I'm extra particular on my favorite ones for the suspense category because I don't want it to feel super dark or heavy or like the villain's POV. I don't want to be like I just like, you know, rolled around in a garbage can or something. Like I don't want that feeling. I want there to be hope obviously winning at the end. I want good winning over evil. And I want good faith content. And so one trilogy I absolutely adore is the Port Astor Secrets trilogy by Sandra Orchard. I always like it when a trilogy follows the same either main character or the main couple throughout all 3 books. I feel like you really get to know the couple then and just their thought processes, and it's not as, I guess you could say, rushed as if they were just stuck in 350 pages. Like this is like 900 pages altogether, thereabouts roughly. So you get to see the characters more, you get to see their interactions, and so this one is more of a slow burn romance and I love it for that. But I also really like this one because I'm a nerd, part 3, and that is because it has to do with plants and botany and science. But basically our main girl has been trying to find a plant that can solve depression without like the pharmaceutical industry, and she's been working on it with her mentor, but her mentor suddenly dies and it's being said it was suicide, and she's like, there's no way, we were working on this together, there's no possible way. And so she ends up with, I think it was the police chief who is the love interest, and they are trying to find out what is really happening. And the twists and turns in this trilogy, make sure you have the next book on hand. That's all I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say. I did also though really like the Serena Jones art mystery series by Sandra Orchard. I would have said that was my favorite trilogy out of the 2 if you had asked me like 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, but the 3rd book did not go the way I wanted in the love triangle, so I'm still a little salty over that. It's still really good, but I'm a little salty over how the love triangle did not go the way I wanted. So now this series is my favorite, and I love plants and botany and all that stuff so much more now with my recent reread of this series. Or recent, I think it was a couple of years ago. But regardless, I really like this trilogy. I really do. The other one's good too, but the love triangle did not go the way I wanted, so poo on that. And then my last book for this video in the suspense genre is going to be Crossfire by Lynette Easton. I have read a lot of books by this author over my 14 years of reading Christian fiction, and some of them are a little creepy for my taste. I'm not gonna lie, like there's some that's like, hey, and not my favorite, but this one, a favorite. Potentially, like for actual like suspense, this would be my favorite of all time. The Port Astor Secret series has like mystery and suspense kind of vibes, like it's both. I lean more towards the suspense category for it because of certain scenes, but this one is like true on suspense. But I love this book not only because of the faith content and how I needed to read that at the time when I read it, but also the main girl, Juliana, is just the coolest. Like, let me just fangirl over here for a minute. She's an FBI special agent, but she's a hostage negotiator, which the cool calmness you have to have for that job, and just like the brilliant, wow, the brilliance. I love her. She was phenomenal. The main guy was great too. He was complimentary towards her. I liked him, but she was just the coolest. She was the coolest. We have the hostage negotiator, and just so many ways that this was just good. Like, I want to reread it. The first book in the series scared me out of my wits. I'm not gonna lie. You can read it if you want to, but you can read them where you skip that one or like move around throughout the series. I liked books 3 and 4 as well, but book 2 was by far my favorite. Book 1 was very creepy in my opinion, but I really liked this one because Juliana was the coolest. So there we go. That is my massive list of probably like 30 plus books. I actually didn't even count because, you know, some are trilogies and whatnot, so I feel like it's kind of hard to gauge that then. But it's a lot of books in this video. I feel like if you have watched my channel for any amount of time, you honestly could have probably made a bingo board at the beginning of this video and go, oh, there's the Aaron Mangum book. Oh, there's her mentioning of Janice Thompson. Oh, yep, saw that coming. Saw that one coming. Did anyone? Should we play that game? I guess I should put that at the beginning. But I'd love to know how many of these you saw coming. Let's do it that way. If you have been around for my channel for any amount of time, you've probably recognized a lot of these books, but I did have that new one as a surprise, and that was lovely with Keep 'Em Flying. That was such a fun book. But that is it for this video. I feel like it's probably over an hour long. I'm sorry about that. I could attempt to lift my stack, but I don't think that's gonna go well. Here is just the ones I pulled. I own all of them. Yeah, I own all of them, but I didn't grab them all because then the stack would have been taller than me. So there we go, my friends. This is part of the stack of my all-time favorite Christian fiction books. I'd love to know if you have read any of these. Do you want to read any of them? Are any of these your favorites? I would love to know, and I will see y'all in the comments. I'll also see y'all in my next video, and it was just so much fun to talk about these books. I hope this video was entertaining and helpful, and you added some more books to your TBR. I feel like y'all probably saw a lot of these coming, so let me know how many of them you've read. I would love to know. And that is the end for this video. So thank y'all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to know if y'all have read any of these. Do you want to read any of them? Please let me know, and I'll talk to y'all in the comments below. I am Lindsey from the blog Books for Christian Girls, where there is a new review every Wednesday and Friday. I try to post a new video on this channel every Friday. I am also on Instagram under Books for Christian Girls, where I talk only about Christian fiction. And I'm also on Book Reviews by Lindsey, which is more of my personal bookstagram, where I talk about clean fiction and Christian fiction. I am also on TikTok, Goodreads, and Facebook. And I think that's everywhere. I will see y'all next time. Bye!